Welcome to Old Fashioned Finance, the podcast that mixes cocktails and high finance. I'm your host, Caleb Frankert, and I'm joined by my good friend and fellow money muddler, Jason Burnell.
Caleb, can a podcast about finance be entertaining?
Not without alcohol.
Well, all right, let's mix it up. You know, you're talking about your banker hands. I just had a joke. Like,
Is it appropriate?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, my toilet paper is rougher than your banker hands.
These hands.
When we start the podcast,
hands.
we clap, okay? Because they're trying to match up audio to video. We don't know what happens in the background, so
The magic.
the magic happens, and so we
I'm
were told to
definitely
clap.
not there for the
so
magic.
we clap.
It's like a high five when you try to high five somebody and it's really bad. You're like, oh,
That didn't even make
we
any
have
sound.
to do that again. And then by the time you do and you get it, you're like, the moment's passed.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
Doesn't mean
it's kind of the same thing with our clap. So yeah, no, my hands aren't that soft. I play guitar, so my fingers on my left hand, I can't even register my fingerprint on my phone.
Ooh,
because it's just all
dang.
calloused. Yeah, I've been playing a lot lately.
Like your personality.
Yes, exactly. All right. Well,
all right. Here we are again.
Okay, so today it's a cold and miserable late April day here in Ohio.
Mm-hmm. Oh, well.
Let's try to fight through it.
Yeah, we're trying to find summer somewhere. Although we got spoiled,
we've
we're
had
good.
a couple of really nice weeks in the 80s, and
which is
not that
really
we should
unusual.
be there yet, but yeah, you get really used to it. Your blood thins out really quick.
It does.
And then you go outside on a day like today, and you feel like you're going to die. It's so cold, but it's barely freezing outside.
So the average temperature this time of year is 65 degrees.
Oh, well, we're way below
We
that.
are so far below that.
But that feels like average to be, it's how do we get to an average temperature of 65 in April in Ohio? Well, it's a lot of days at 35 and a lot of
and a few
90.
at 90.
Yeah. That's how we get to an average. We never actually get that
It's
65-degree day. Almost
Only
never
once.
get that.
Actually, the news that I watch, like the weather, they'll sometimes put the calendar up, and they have like red for below, green for above, and I forget the color for on, like right on average.
It doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist. It's never ever that.
They're like, we don't know because we've never had to use that color.
Exactly. So obviously, I don't remember. So,
so Jason,
yes.
We're drinking something called a Monte Carlo today.
Ooh, nice. We should have talked about Monte Carlo, simulations and 25,000 ways to tie your shoes.
Well, it does go along with this conversation.
It does. It does.
We're going to talk about diversification.
Ooh.
Yeah, sounds exciting.
Yeah.
Hang in there with us,
Hang
folks.
in there, yeah. The next 30 minutes will be riveting.
I don't know. Monte Carlo seemed like it went along with that
does.
because usually, financial planners and their fancy, snazzy software running Monte Carlo simulations are showing you're not diversified enough.
Did you just say simulations?
Simulations? No, I don't think so.
Okay.
If I did, please edit that out. All right,
simulations.
so this is interesting because I think Monte Carlo and I think of the 100,000 scenarios that they run.
Yeah.
So this has like 100,000 ingredients.
Well, every person I talk to about Monte Carlo, they instantly
think
go
of the
to
car.
No, they go to gambling.
Oh.
Almost every time.
I really
you must have like
some
like memory about the Monte Carlo car.
Yeah. There was a
was it Dale Earnhardt Jr.?
No.
You did grow up in Northwest Ohio.
Actually, they did race Monte Carlos
definitely,
for a while, didn't they?
Yeah.
No, I can remember in summer baseball.
Baseball. Here we go again.
One of my neighbors, his older brother was in high school, and he had this freaking sweet like 85 Monte Carlo.
Nice.
It was black with the red stripes.
Ooh,
It was a slick car, and sometimes he'd pick me up for baseball practice, and I just felt super cool.
Did it have T-tops?
Yes, it did.
Yes.
Yeah.
Why don't we have T-tops anymore?
Because
they leaked. They were a hole in the
roof. Really bad, actually. Yeah. So
turns out holes in your roof.
They
bad
idea.
Cool.
They also faded out your interior.
Oh,
quicker,
that's right.
And you'd get the cracks in your dash.
Yeah,
and all
you'd
that
sit
kind
on the
stuff.
seat and you'd fall through.
Yeah. Yeah.
And everything in the 80s was like velvet
or vinyl, one of the two.
Yeah, like the plushy velvet. It's like driving a love seat down the road.
Well, Jason,
what do we got?
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about the drink, the Monte Carlo, not the car, not the place where you gamble. Looks like a pretty.
It looks.
I don't want to say elegant.
It looks boozy.
It is.
Yeah.
It looks like a very distinguished drink.
Okay. I can get behind
you
that.
wouldn't be embarrassed if someone walked into the local social club and you were,
sipping on one of these things.
Not like some of the crazy colors that we've had on the podcast.
Yeah, exactly. I wonder, like you have Benedictine here. Like,
yeah.
I wonder if like most places even have that on the shelf. I'm gonna say probably not.
Friday night I went to a local up and coming.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say names or anything. They talked about their bartender being really, really proficient, and I asked for a drink with Benedictine, and they said, "Oh, we don't have that." So
womp,
I'm going to say
womp.
most places don't have it. But actually, I was just saying before we hit the record button, why don't I have Benedictine at home?
Yeah,
I know I've got it at the office, but it's one that we've grown really fond of.
Right,
so
right.
let's get into the ingredients.
Okay, sweet.
It does not have 100,000 different ingredients like the Monte Carlo simulation.
So the only ingredient you may not have at home is the Benedictine.
Yeah, probably, but almost every liquor store has it.
Yeah, exactly.
So, and a little goes a long way. So, I mean, it's a good purchase for like $30. I don't think it's that bad for as many times as we've used it.
No, I mean, we still have about half a bottle left here. So,
well, anyway, this here Monte Carlo drink is comprised of 2 ounces of rye whiskey. We used Old Overholt because that's the only thing we had in the cabinet.
That's embarrassing.
A half an ounce of Benedictine. And then 1 dash of Angostura bitters. And Jason, yes, I did stick to the 1 dash.
Good.
Normally I see 1 and I go 2. But basically in a mixing glass or a shaker, fill it up with ice, throw those ingredients in and stir it. I would say don't shake this drink. And actually that brings me to a point that I had about your shaken old fashioned. Did you know that shaking a whiskey drink actually introduces air into the alcohol faster? Meaning it oxidizes quicker, which actually makes it less potent.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Probably not by much, but it does a little bit. So anyway, stir that baby up, strain it into a rocks glass over some fresh ice. Look at that. No garnishes, no lemon peels, no cherries.
I'm good with that. This says
just straight.
Benedictine literally says a memorable experience of your senses.
I would agree.
I agree. Okay. Ready?
Okay.
Cheers.
Cheers. Smells good.
Ooh, smells like honey, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that.
That's awesome. Dang.
It's kind of...
that's like Manhattan-y, kind of.
I was going to say it kind of reminds me of a rye old-fashioned.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say that.
And using the Benedictine instead of simple syrup, it's not as sugary.
I just got the rye.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it's there. It's a little spicy, actually.
Ooh, that's cool.
This is I kind
of
of made fun of us for drinking Old Overholt.
No.
It's a classic.
Yep.
Their higher proof stuff, actually, I think they had one that was like 118 or something like that.
There is nothing wrong with having
really
that.
Good. It's good for mixing. Yeah, there's a couple drops on that one.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's good for mixing.
Now we have 0 rye.
Well, guess we'll have to do something about that. All right, so I like that.
Nice.
I think, if you like old fashions, this is probably right up your alley. If you like rye spiciness,
that's really good.
It is. The Benedictine I think in place of the simple syrup, it's something a little bit more interesting. You got a lot more flavors rolling around on the palate with that Benedictine.
Yeah,
you said honey.
This doesn't have the
a cloviness,
kind of like tickle your throat. It's real subtle on the finish, so you're not like burning through your nose or anything like that.
No, I'm just thinking in my head like a rare breed rye.
Ooh, yeah.
And something like this would be a
flavor
bomb.
Why don't we have any rare breed?
Because I drank it all. It didn't last long around here.
I have like 3 bottles of rye at home. I should just bring them in. I don't drink it a lot.
You know what? We do have another rye up there that I forgot about, but it would not go well in a mixed drink, and that's that Angel's
but that's got a
finished rye.
Yeah,
it's got like a maple something. I don't know. Maybe it would play well with a Benedictine, but anyway, enough about that.
Yeah, dude, make one of these.
Let's get on to the finance topic.
Gosh,
this is good. Go buy a bottle of Benedictine for crying out loud, and you should always have rye at home.
Yeah. Whew. That's a great drink.
So, Jason, today the title of our episode is Can You Be Too Diversified?
Yes.
Okay. Thanks for having a drink with us this week. Just kidding.
Let's talk about drinking some more.
We did an episode way back. I believe it was a Manhattan project.
Yep.
Diversification's not rocket science. We did talk a little bit about what diversification is and what it isn't, and I think it would be good to kind of bring that up and set the stage with that a little bit, and then get into, once we've set the stage and we know what diversification is, then get into, is it possible to be too diversified, or what are the dangers of being too diversified?
Yeah, and actually that's funny that you use the word dangers of being too diverse. That is actually like an Investopedia article.
Gosh darn it.
Yeah. But, in the American literary classic, whatever your blog is called, what was it called? Diversification.
What it is and what it isn't.
What it isn't.
Yes, a famous blogger once blogged about this topic.
Yep. So what is diversification, Caleb?
Well,
since you're an expert.
Merriam-Webster defines... No, I'm just kidding.
You actually started it that way.
The old Michael Scott. No, according to Investopedia.com, diversification is a risk management strategy that mixes a wide variety of investments within a portfolio. All right. We get it. Having lots of stuff to limit the risk in a portfolio, right? So not just owning Bitcoin, Dogecoin, Ethereum, right? All those.
Good job.
I know. It would be introducing other asset classes into the mix so that when crypto fails, you're not, I said when.
Sectors, industries, countries,
companies.
I mean, these are a lot of factors go into this. And it's funny, the word factor investing is actually a thing, okay? Like, there's a lot of science behind that. And I don't know, I have this book sitting here.
Explain, Bill Nye.
I mean, all those things we just mentioned actually can be mathematically measured using some calculus to actually come up with a factor that says this portfolio is X amount of risk. It's actually probably N in the formula, but it's really fascinating to see how an algorithm essentially is trying to make sense of all the different factors. So in a fancy asset allocation world, diversification may actually be referred to as factor investing. Believe it or not.
I've never heard it put that way, but now that everyone's sleeping.
Yes. I'm going to just go drink now.
So diversification, we've kind of established what that is basically on a fundamental level. Let's talk quickly about what it is not, Jason. And I'm going to use...
This is really important.
Yeah, I'm going to use a couple of examples. The first one I'll use, and maybe this is a lesson on not being diversified enough, but let's say that you've been working for your company for 20 plus years. You believe in the product. They've taken care of you and your family. Great. They provided a nice 401k match, which you've taken advantage of. They have a great employee stock purchase plan. You've taken advantage of that. They've got a pension, which not a lot of companies have anymore, right?
Right.
So let's say that's the case, and you find yourself a few years from retirement, and your 401k is full of that company stock that you bought on a discount with the employee stock purchase plan. You've got a pension there. Your life insurance, your disability insurance, all those things are included in your company benefits. You really believe in the company, right? So what happens when 5 years before retirement, company goes belly up? Everything that you have is invested in that company, that one company. All of your net worth is wrapped up.
The story of Enron.
Yeah, exactly.
WorldCom.
You can think, I mean, there were General Motors instances
Adelphia.
Exactly. You name it, right? There are people who were caught up in those companies, believing strongly in what they did, had all of their eggs in that basket, literally.
Yep.
Pensions gone.
Jobs gone.
Jobs gone. Stocks gone. Bonds are gone. Maybe you had bonds, right?
Yeah, because a lot of times they were offering those at discounts. I mean, that was really popular in the 90s.
Yeah.
I mean, we live in a General Motors town. Huge powertrain plant here for years and years and years. And unfortunately, folks really did get taken advantage of, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah.
When they lost their General Motors bonds. It's one of the sad little secrets of the bailout that happened of General Motors. They talked about the big guys getting not getting paid out. Unfortunately, many former employees had significant wealth in bonds and stock.
So the point of all that, while you have a pension, while you have a 401k, while you have an employee stock purchase plan, you have all of these different elements but you're not diversified. You're riding all in one company. That would not be diversification, right? So just owning different things does not necessarily make diversification. If we're talking about what diversification isn't,
right?
What else isn't it though? You and I, coming from the bank channel, I think that
this was an annoyance. I would say, people would be like, "I'm going to open an account at 5 different banks."
Yeah. I'm going to diversify. I heard people say it.
Right, exactly. So,
well, I'm diversified. I have a checking account here, and here. I'm like, well, all your money is wrapped up in FDIC.
It's still cash.
It's all cash. It's
right.
all insured by the same company,
right,
or the same
government entity.
Yes, entity.
And
so
most folks don't understand the rules there.
Right.
That diversification of cash across multiple banks is still the same asset class.
So the opposite of the previous example was having one asset class, different institutions.
Right.
Also not diversification.
Nope, not at all. And I think people get confused when they're like, well, I have a checking account and a CD at all those banks. Like that's also diversification.
Yeah.
Again, any fixed rate certificate, it's a deposit, is still in that asset class of cash. Okay.
Right.
Yes, you'll always see it. You can reach out and touch it. You can withdraw it. You can do all of those things, but it's still just cash.
What about this one?
Uh-oh.
I would never put all of my money at one financial firm or with one advisor. I want to be diversified. Did I just say diverse? I've done that twice now.
You have. I know.
never talk like that. Diversified. But they'll say, well, I've got 3 financial advisors. I want to be diversified.
Yeah, the only thing you're probably doing there is diversifying opinions. And that's not
maybe not even doing that.
Probably not. I mean, if you've gone to, some qualified folks. But that's actually the opposite. What's probably going to happen is you're going to have similar portfolios across multiple advisors. You're going to get a significant amount of correlation.
Yeah.
Just asset
Don't
overlap.
go too far into the danger part.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
Yep. The again, you're talking about literally not doing it on purpose, but putting multiple eggs in one basket.
Yeah.
You really you probably unintentionally didn't diversify in that case. And this isn't, like financial complainers, financial complainers. That's a new title. Financial planners, advisors really complaining because I really, really believe that I can't do a good job for a client when I'm trying to guess what the other guy's going to do. It's really difficult. And I have some of those relationships.
It's not even just that, because I've always said in the past, look, if that's what you're going to do, then at least let me see what's going on. The problem with that is I can't control what's going on in the other portfolio. And the other advisor who's trying to do the same thing that I'm trying to do, which is, well, I'm going to move in this direction because I see overlap over here.
Right.
But how can you really coordinate that if you're not in control? And I realize that what this sounds like is financial advisors complaining that, yes, you should have all your assets in one place. You should still be diversified.
Yes, which is not multiple people, multiple places. Now, you actually just said something that was very interesting.
Was it the overlap part? Okay, good. No.
I don't think it was, actually. The other advisor is trying to guess.
Yeah.
And that is just exactly what it is. I mean, it's a guess.
Yeah.
And
I don't like working under those conditions, by the way.
It's very difficult. And the good advisor on the other side is probably feeling the same thing. So, I mean, that's a good point. That
unless they're pitching, well, I know you have money outside, but maybe you want to be diversified, so it's okay to have another advisor. I've heard that before.
They're probably commission guys.
That's a sales. Well, that's a sales tactic.
Yeah. They only need a piece of it, so they can get a commission and then move on. So
okay, moving.
That's
this
another
down
topic
the road.
we're going to cover later.
Definitely is. In a few episodes, we'll have something for that. But moving this down the road a little bit, we've talked about what diversification is, what it isn't. That's kind of a review. Now, Jason, knowing what we know about diversification, do you think it's possible to be too diversified?
Yeah, this is actually probably one of my pet peeves when I dig into other professional money managers' portfolios. So we're going to talk about really the investment portfolio, right? Okay. So many times they over diversify so much that they lose like their strategy somewhere along the way. So like, what do you actually believe? Having 10,000 positions dilutes things so much. Okay. And I'm going to get a little nerdy here because I think it is important. And I'm going to go back to our early days in the world of finance, back to my college days probably. And this one is when you're diversifying, you're trying to eliminate unsystematic risk.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Systematic risk is market risk.
Mm-hmm.
It's inherent to the market.
Mm-hmm.
You have a recession across the whole economy, systematic risk. Okay. COVID happens, systematic risk. Unsystematic risk is really by the company, by the investment, by the bond, the sector.
Yeah.
And so you're trying to mathematically eliminate that. Now, it can't be perfectly done. Okay, at least if you have that formula, please send it my way.
It's in my desk. I keep forgetting. I know it would be really helpful if I got on that. But.
Yeah, so this unsystematic risk, again, math starts to get diluted as well. When you add a bunch of positions in, you're really not accomplishing anything.
And I guess the way that I would paraphrase what you're saying is, no, I think it's fine. The way that I would paraphrase it is you are so diversified to the point where you actually have no conviction.
Right, exactly.
And you are so... what you were talking about there with systemic risk and non-systemic risk, you're kind of going down the road of correlation.
Systematic?
It's the same thing.
Okay.
Systematic. I mean,
I never say it that way. What is wrong with us?
Trying to impress our audience, I guess. It's not working.
You made me nervous.
It's not working.
It doesn't matter.
But
they know what we mean.
You're going down the path that is, the correlation conversation, which is you to diversify risk, and as in that Investopedia definition, you want assets that are non-correlated, meaning if one event happens, not all of your assets react the same way.
Exactly. Yeah.
You want to have some things that zig while the others are zagging.
Right.
And, you think traditionally stocks and bonds move opposite of each other. Well,
not until
not lately. And actually, it's really interesting when you think about it that stocks and bonds have been the correlation. So basically, market event happens. Instead of one holding up while the other sells off, they both go down together.
Right.
Or they both go back up together. So are you really diversified? Maybe not. You need to have some other non-correlated assets like maybe real estate, and I'm just going to throw like precious metals, different things out there that react differently.
Absolutely.
But what I've found in a lot of portfolios, and I would say institutional portfolios, I'm not picking on anybody here, but the bank money managers and things like that, they have their canned portfolios that, the strategist up in the ivory tower are coming up with, not the advisor that you're sitting across from.
That probably check all the boxes on, modern portfolio theory. I mean, like they're probably checking all the boxes. Maybe going too far, maybe.
And I think that's the danger right there on their end. What they want to be is so diversified and so non-correlated it gets to the point where there is no conviction in the portfolio, and when something goes up, there's something else dragging it down just as much, and you can't, and what I call it, you can't get out of your own way.
Yeah, so what's happening now, especially since the correlation between stocks and bonds have been so tight, what we're talking about here, guys, is like when stocks go down, bonds have been going down as well. They used to be inversely proportionate. Stocks go down,
back when the
bonds
world made
go
sense.
up. Yep.
Right before we got into this business.
Yeah. Yeah. So what's happening, though, is, when you have a year where the market is very positive, and one that pops in my mind like right away is 2013. Okay.
Yeah.
Going back 10 years, literally. It seemed like those institutional money managers were diversified, no doubt.
Sure.
Overly diversified.
Well, and from a compliance standpoint, right, they can check the box and say we were very diversified. Nobody's coming at us with a big lawsuit.
Yeah, exactly. And so what ended up happening, though, is in a year where the market was very strong, that diversification actually caused them, some grief. I mean, like we're talking lagging, the overall market by 10, 15%, depending on the manager. Now, when the markets got bad, So this is the other side of it. In the past, that diversification and things like fixed income protected you. You had a soft landing. Unfortunately, what's happening in those years is they're tracking to the market.
Yeah.
So you're actually getting
can't get out of its own way on the way up, and also not cushioning the down at all.
And again, nerdy sense, up down capture ratios is a thing that we look at. Many times it's compared to the S&P 500, and you're getting less of the up and the same down.
Yeah.
I think
paying for it.
And I think a lot of that is a result of this symptom, which is it's too diverse, doesn't really stand for anything. And it's kind of like pound the table, like, what do you believe in?
Yeah.
What do you think? Do you think value is going to do better? Do you think small caps are better? Do you think small cap value? What is it that you actually believe in?
Well, and I would say to that point too, you think over the years, there are some years where the markets have done really well and maybe advisors in general didn't do a great job, or vice versa, whatever. But I would say that my perception from my time in this business is that what people won't forgive you for is not having an opinion.
Right, exactly.
It doesn't always have to be the right one.
Right.
But to have an opinion, I think if the market's up 20% and you're down, I think you're going to have some real trouble, right?
And I think you've heard it, and I've heard it too, where it's advisors will say, and managers, money managers that we read, I mean, we definitely read other folks, will say, most clients are not, let's say the market's up 20%, you're up 12. Most clients are happy.
Yeah.
Market's down by 10, they're down by 7. Client is unhappy.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'd put it this way.
It's frustrating because, when the market, you had so much more to gain on the upside, but they were probably satisfied with the return. No one's ever happy with negative. I mean, I haven't found anybody yet.
I do think that there's an element of a few people do, but most people don't expect us to get all of the upside in the market all of the time. However, if we're down just as much as the market, they've got a problem with that typically, right?
Right, exactly.
They don't. I mean, from that perspective, what they're saying is, look, I understand I pay you to limit risk and all these things. When the market's up, we don't always have to be all the way up with the market. However, when things go down, I better not be all the way down either, because I am paying you to mitigate risk after all.
Yeah. There's a line here, Michael Kitces, okay, financial planner guru, nerd. I mean, his blog is Nerd's Eye View, it is lovingly.
Yeah, and it was an endearing title.
It's he has this quote. It says, being diversified, well, he wrote it. Being diversified is an array of good investments that all have the opportunity for favorable returns is one thing. Owning every investment under the sun, regardless of its investment merits, still fills your portfolio with a bunch of mediocre investments that will likely deliver mediocre returns. Sometimes the best path is not to just own a diversified portfolio. It is to avoid owning bad investments. Don't sacrifice your future at the altar of blind diversification.
I think that's great, and that kind of gets at the point of this.
It does.
I have seen instances where someone brings me a portfolio, whether it's from another advisor or whether it's something that they've done themselves. And honestly, I remember years ago running one client's portfolio between his IRAs, his non-qualified money, running all of it through Morningstar, and it spits out 25,000 different positions.
Oh, my gosh.
What is the point? And he said diversification. Are you diversified? You're beyond diversified.
Right.
And it kind of goes into
we should come up with the word that is like too much diversification.
Over-diversified? I don't know.
That's 2 words.
But no, it's one. It's just a long one.
It is. Well, maybe a hyphen in there.
but I think that's like what Kitsis was saying there. You don't own a little bit of everything, so you cover all your bases.
Right.
I mean, that's a really good way to, like you said, moderate returns or water down returns.
Yep.
We talked about not being able to get out of your own way, and that's it. And I'm thinking of an example. A lot of people are holding international stocks just because, you need to.
Emerging markets.
Yeah, well, you need to.
Yep.
Well, I don't know. Do you? I could be totally wrong, and we want to keep these episodes as evergreen as possible. But it hasn't made sense for a lot of years to have a
Right.
big international equity position.
And so someone like us would be like, it's hard to guess which year international is going to do well.
Yeah, I'm not going to keep pushing chips on that side of the table until it happens.
Right. When we drive that like a kid that's trying to learn how to drive a stick shift is how international seems to go. You're moving forward and then you're stalled.
You're stalled.
Yeah, and we have experienced that year after year after year in our career, and we have an opinion.
Sure.
Okay.
And people pay us for those opinions.
And that's right. And so we're
whether you think you're getting a good deal or not, that's for debate.
We hope you think you are. So anyways.
So getting out of your own way is one of the dangers. Yeah. Overlapping exposure, like we talked about, just owning more stuff for the sake of owning more stuff. If you are over-diversifying,
we are
over-diversifying. See, maybe that's a word we shouldn't use. By using other advisors and whatnot. I'm trying to use air quotes in that case.
Right.
But if you're just listening, you don't see those. You're overlapping expenses, probably not getting as good of a deal. So there are dangers of being quote unquote over-diversified. I'm going to answer my own question and say, no, it's probably not possible to be over-diversified. But there's a certain point where you're actually not anymore diversified.
You're not gaining any benefit.
You're not actually, just by holding more stuff doesn't mean that you're more diversified.
Right, exactly.
So it's kind of just the misconception of that word. I don't know. But
yeah, I guess I ruined the whole thing to start with.
No, I plan to blow it up there at the end.
Oh, thanks. You set me up. I don't care.
Have fun.
I have a drink in me now.
And it was a good one. Thanks for having a drink with us this week, folks. It is time to close out the tab. If you have a question or a topic you want addressed on the Old Fashioned Finance podcast, be sure to email us at podcast@bluejfg.com. We'd love to hear from you. Don't forget to share the show with someone you love or just someone who needs a little money muddling themselves. You can stay up to date with the latest action by following us on Facebook. Old Fashioned Finance is brought to you by Blue Jay Financial Group. That's bluejfg.com and produced by Podastery Studios. We've been your hosts, Caleb and Jason.
Empty glasses.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Blue Jay Financial Group, LLC. Blue Jay is a registered investment advisor registered with the state of Ohio. Registration does not imply a certain level of skill or training. The presence of this advertisement on this podcast shall not be directly or indirectly interpreted as a solicitation of investment advisory services to persons of another jurisdiction unless otherwise permitted by statute. Follow-up or individualized responses to a consumer in a particular state by Blue Jay and the rendering of personalized investment advice for compensation shall not be made without first complying with jurisdiction requirements or pursuant an applicable state exemption. All verbal and written consent on this presentation is for information purposes only. Opinions expressed herein are solely those of Blue Jay unless otherwise specifically cited. Material presented is believed to be from reliable sources, and no representations are made by our firm as to other parties' informational accuracy or completeness. All information or ideas provided should be discussed in detail with an advisor, accountant, or legal counsel prior to implementation.